Very different scene rather than the celebrations that we've seen in Black Lives Matter squares in D.C. as well as what we saw with Just Stephen in Philadelphia. Very different scene there. Katie, talk to us about what you're seeing on the ground in Atlanta.
If you're looking for a visual representation of just how divided the United States is, there's no better example of what's going on here in Atlanta. We're right now standing on the one side of the sidewalk where pro-Trump supporters are here. They are protesting against the calls that have been made by the U.S. networks, claiming that Joe Biden is now the president-elect. Demonstrators here have spent several hours saying that they want, well, first of all, there's going to be a recount in the state of Georgia. They're calling for an audit of the way the election was conducted in this state, but they're also saying wait until all of the votes are counted. And there are questions about whether this vote process was rife with fraud. Now, something I very clearly need to say is that state officials here who are overseeing the election, they're part of a Republican administration. There is a Republican governor here. And at several news conferences held by these Republican officials, they have said there is no widespread evidence of fraud. So while Trump and the Trump campaign have stoked those concerns, they sent a legal team here into Georgia and a number of other states looking for allegations of voter fraud. Right now, there is nothing to substantiate that. So this is one side of the street. We're going to show you across the street over here. We have a number of anti-Trump protesters, and some of them are armed. They have been here for about an hour now. And we know they're anti-Trump protesters because they've been shouting some anti-Trump things at the people on this side of the street. The mood here in Atlanta changed. There was a lot of frustration about the results today, and Trump supporters saying that they didn't want to, declare anything until every single last vote was counted and investigations into voter fraud are conducted. But it was not tense. That has now changed. Even though the crowd has thinned out, it's not as busy as it was, there certainly is a lot of anger here. Take a look up at the steps up there. We have now people are hugging, but they had been shouting socialism sucks and a number of anti-democratic slogans. They are not supporters of Joe Biden. They are not happy with these results. So that is what we've sort of seen over the past couple of days here in Atlanta as everyone in the state is waiting for the results. Now, even though a winner has been declared, counting still goes on here in this state and other states where all the ballots have not been counted yet. At last check, Joe Biden had about a 7,200 vote lead as there were still thousands of provisional ballots to be counted. Those are ballots that elections officials aren't sure whether they can be counted or not, whether they were cast within the rules or not. They have to be adjudicated. It's a whole process. It takes some time. So the Trump supporters here, they are not happy with what's gone on today. They are demanding more transparency about the voting process. And the anti-Trump protesters across the street, they are standing here. Some of them are armed, and they are standing across the street at times shouting some anti-Trump things across this side of the street. So if you're looking for a visual representation of how divided things are right now, doesn't get any more divided than this than what you're seeing in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Katie, it's rather shocking, and I apologize. I don't know your photojournalist's name, but I'm wondering if your photojournalist might zoom in again on the other side of the street, because as you said, there are armed people across the street, these anti-Trump protesters. Shocking to see them carrying the type of weapons that they seem to be carrying. Are we certain those are real weapons?
Let me get my cameraman, Paul. They're asking if we can show live on the air. We're still live right now. They're asking if we can show some of the people who are armed over there. They might be sort of standing back in the crowd. I don't know if we can see them, so we will try. If we can't find them, I will confirm that there are people here that are carrying guns. So not to sound the most Canadian ever, but because we don't have open carry laws in Canada in the same way that they do in the United States, my exposure to weapons is not as high as other people might be who live in this country. And so I tried to speak to the demonstrators who are holding these weapons. No one would answer any of my questions, but I did ask one of the police officers to say, look, I'm from Canada. I haven't seen a lot of guns in my life. Are these weapons real? And they said, yes, they are real. And so everywhere these demonstrators have gone, we've actually seen state troopers. These are Georgia state troopers here. We've seen them follow follow along. So there is more of a police presence here. Police earlier had just been making sure that people stayed out of the street. This is still a live lane of traffic. And what we've seen throughout the afternoon is people, mostly Trump supporters, driving by with flags on their vehicles, honking their horns, offering support for the people who are out here who are frustrated by the result of, hold on, Paul, there's another photojournalist behind you. Oh, good. You're good there. And so we've seen that. But at times we did see some supporters of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris drive by, some shouting some expletives at the Trump supporters here, others waving Biden flags, one waving a gay pride flag. So it's certainly been a very energetic space here between the energy from the Trump protesters, the anti-Trump protesters, and it's been quite a dramatic scene this afternoon. There have been tensions, but I want to very specifically say no violence. There have been some confrontations, but not violent.